Today is Wednesday, June 1st,
Recording in progress.
2022. It's a Norfolk Conservation Commission being held at Town Hall and also on Zoom. So if you have questions at home, feel free to go to the Norfolk Town website and you can hit the meeting information and Zoom right in with us. Okay, the first hearing we have is on 1 and 5 Hanover Street. And we do have people from 1 and 5, correct?
Yep.
So, go ahead. You can talk. Oh, you need a microphone first. Or do you want to talk, or do you just?
No, we don't need that, only for the present, for the meeting.
Okay.
We need to add something?
Okay. Well, we're going to vote to continue this to July.
Yes.
Yes, I had some comments that I think the commission should discuss in regards to potential plan revisions.
Please.
We have some new members on the board who might not be all caught up to date on this. So the NOI was originally filed in March of 2021. The initial review of the NOI and site inspection was conducted by the former agent. The results of that initial site inspection revealed that there was some additional wetland areas on the property, which were then flagged and added to the revised plan. That revised plan is dated January 28th, 2022. I went out yesterday to review the additional flagging, and I determined the additional flagging to be accurate. One thing I did note on the site visit was an unflagged stream that connects the 12-inch drainage pipe to the wetland resource area near flags 27 and 28. The stream is jurisdictional under the bylaw. Based on observations in the field, it's likely not jurisdictional under the Wetlands Protection Act. No work is proposed within 50 feet of the unflagged stream, and the flagging the stream would not extend the buffer zone any farther into the site than it already is. It kind of runs parallel with the buffer zone that's shown on the plan currently. There was one comment from Mass DEP, which was in regards to the mean annual high water line off of Mill River. And if, Elaine, if you could pull up the aerial. So the wetland system that's located in the rear of the property is a swamp. And in aerials, you can see drainage patterns that lead to Mill Brook. So basically, DEP wanted the commission to confirm that whether or not those would be considered part of the mean annual high water line, which would potentially extend the riverfront area farther into the property. Based on my review of the aerial photographs and observations I made during my site visit, I believe that the drainage patterns shown in the aerials are actually drainage from the BBW flowing into the river, rather channels that receive water from Mill River, which would mean that there would not be considered the mean annual high water line.
But they'd still be under our jurisdiction.
Yeah, so they're located in the flagged BBW.
So that means it just wouldn't be part of an assessment for riverfront, under the riverfront guidelines, it'd more be for the wetland guidelines. And when we looked at this last year, those sites on Hanover Street with the 50-foot setback and the 50-foot, just being 50 feet from the wetlands, there was only a 2 or 3 feet, 10 feet wide area to actually put any house on. And at that point, there wasn't any place to put septic or well, and in the plans, the well was positioned probably in the minus 50-foot of the buffer in the middle of the wetlands, one of their proposed well. So that's why originally, this has been going on for over a year, is because they went to ZBA after seeing us, because there was no, on their plans, there was actually no place to put any type of building. And at that point, they were trying to reduce the setback from the street, which would be the only thing they can do. But
And, correct, and they have received approval from ZBA for the front yard setback. And I'm not sure if you've seen the revised plan from
I don't
January.
think we have.
the only,
Be able to pull that up, it's in the share drive.
Are you comfortable with the new plans from the ZBA, what they requested? And
Yes.
you can build the house you want there?
At this point, Mr. Chair, I'd like to recuse myself from this
Yes.
due to the fact I am in a butter.
Okay. So noted.
so
So we're bringing up the revised plan
Yeah, I
for you to
just-
view.
yeah, so what you saw and what Janet had seen last year, so you're saying they're pretty similar as far as the wetland, because when we did it, we looked at it without the setback, there was nothing we could do, because the house was in the 50-foot buffer mark. So that's why it left us and went to ZBA, because there was no place to actually, based on the 50-foot setback and our 50-foot setback, they were running into each other. So that's why it left us.
So currently, there's all of the work is outside of the 50-foot. It seems that we're
Technical
having-
difficulty?
Having technical difficulties opening up the revised plan. But yeah, so currently there's no work in the 50-foot, no disturbance zone.
And there's a place for the septic and well.
Yes, so I'm not sure how up to date you are with the ZBA process, but they purchased the neighboring property, the abutting property, which gave them some more room. So the septic is actually located, okay, here we go.
Can you blow it up, please?
So everything
At
would
one
be close to the
Hanover.
road. 'Cause
Yep.
that was about the only, I think when we were talking about it, that was about the only way that you'd be able to build here would be to combine lots and get a variance from ZBA to have everything close to the street. Because there was no way,
Yeah.
with the two lots, to be able to put septic and well, where the other neighbors' septics and wells were, they were leapfrogging on top of each other because there wasn't water on the street. Public water.
So, yes, as you can see, it now includes 1 Hanover Street, which is where the septic field is located. And then the house is,
Can you move it to the left? A little more? There you go. Okay. Yep.
so you can actually see in the bottom right corner, that 12-inch drainage pipe.
Your pointer. I went to Walgreens today, and they have them for cats, but they don't have them for people. And it was like, I was going to buy the cat one, but it's like, no. Probably doesn't have the range.
So in the bottom right corner is the drainage pipe, and there is a stream that flows from the pipe approximately to wetland flag 27. Yes.
Where's 27? Okay.
So
Okay.
it's flow from that out to
What pipe is that?
That receives drainage from the roadway.
Oh, okay. Hey, sorry, Emily. That's all right.
The other thing we discussed on the last point is being on the edge of the 50-foot part. We've had some of the landowners require them to put in a fence, like an actual fence, to divide the 50-foot, because if you look out here, where the house is located, it's going to end up being, you can't really walk around the house. So we need
Barrier.
a barrier, not just the, the cement post with a cap that says, 50-foot mark, that we've required on some places that, like they would have out by the septic area if it were forested or wooded. We'd have them do the markers, either in the ground or a foot or two above ground. But then, closer to the house, we've had them do a fence. We did the one we just finished with MacArthur,
Yes.
the one that was in front of us for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
They actually built up and then put a fence around the areas to prevent the usage into the, because it's so close.
So for MacArthur, a fence was required. However, the fence was at the top of a 20-foot tall
Yeah.
retaining wall. So in that case, putting a fence wouldn't restrict wildlife movement. On a site like this, putting in a fence could potentially restrict wildlife movement.
Like like deer or something, big stuff.
Yes,
what
and
we-
even, smaller mammals, tortoises.
Yeah, what we've done is, right, but we've addressed that in the solar projects by requiring the bottom of the fence to be a foot high. So they'd have the post, but the screen part or whatever they used would be a foot off the ground between posts, so that the smaller animals could float.
Or if they went with a split rail or something, then you'd have
Yeah.
the space.
A split rail would also, that would allow for more movement from wildlife. So that's something to consider. I did have a recommendation of putting markers, on concrete blocks, pillars, boulders with placards along the limit of work, which is coincidentally the 50-foot buffer, at a minimum interval of 25 feet. However, the commission decides that a fence would be more appropriate. That's also something that the commission should consider adding to the revised plan.
I mean, it could be a combination of you put the split rail around, but every 50 feet or something, you put a cement post also, because the split rail's not going to last forever.
The split rail where it's going to be, from the road around the house to wherever it starts getting into vegetated areas that they're not going to need a fence or want a fence if they didn't want to continue it. And then, like you said, a great idea to have the markers every 25 feet.
So the whole
Or
site is
whatever you- I
pretty
mean, if you wanna-
vegetated.
Yeah.
The entire site is vegetated at this point. So if you were to go, like you were saying, that would mean there would be a fence around the entire site.
I see what you're saying. So where it's completely vegetated, you're saying, don't put a fence, just put in the markers, because it'd be easier for wildlife to get through? Does that make more sense for us?
Or I'll throw the other option, go on the right to the left and then stop at some point. So like the active area around the house and lawn would be clearly marked by a fence, demarcated, and then the rest, yeah, with the markers.
Okay.
I mean, just throwing it out, I mean, there's all kinds of options.
Yes, I think you explained it better than what I was trying to explain. I think the fence, I'd like where people are going to be moving around. And then where there's, the middle of where it's all wooded or where they're not going to be doing anything, then the markers. Just to,
I think you need the markers no matter what, because people don't know what the fence will mean. You know,
Yeah.
they sell the house
Oh,
to
yeah, the
somebody down
marker's got to
road.
be on the
Yeah.
fence, too.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Anybody else have a question, comments?
Do we require any type of like temporary fencing while things are being built?
Yeah, barriers and stuff.
yeah, the,
Erosion controls.
Caitlin can explain
But
that.
like for
Yeah.
workers, I mean, like they can walk over some of the things.
We've done that too.
Okay. It's
Depending on, so
close, so.
when we do the border, as they're working, there's either a silt sock, which is temporary,
Yeah.
or a silt fence, which is a little bit more permanent, so, and then depending on the slope and stuff is depending on which one they use. But we've made them use the silt fence where we want to make sure that they're, where they're operating heavy equipment, that they don't go beyond when they're building the leach field, turning around out into the wetlands. So they put that, because a silt sock, they'll just drive right over.
Yeah.
Where the fence is going to be a lot more obvious that. So, but generally in the orders of conditions, we do that. And then we'll also want to know what side of the building they're going to enter and exit with the equipment. We could put that in the orders. If
And
they're
where
digging
this-
out materials, do they have a container on site? Are they putting it in a dump truck and taking it right away? And depending on how much space they have as to which one that we demand that they do.
Can you see how much space is between the septic system and the house? Can you see that, Adam? Regan? Guesstimate?
165?
I don't think there's a line that says how far away it is from the house.
From this tank to...
No.
So
From the house
does it say
to the
30
leaching field.
Does it say 30 feet from the road
No, it doesn't say.
It's
to
probably
the house?
roughly
So that's...
Oh, yeah, it does say 30
60,
feet from the road
65
right
feet.
here. But it doesn't say the distance on
Almost.
it. So like 40 feet, maybe.
Yeah.
50 feet, okay.
Yeah, 50 feet.
So, I mean, that could be enough space to put the materials, but, yeah, we definitely want to put that in the order of conditions.
Yeah, because it's hard to see what the slope is. That's the other thing, they could pile it up high, we get a big rainstorm.
Oh.
All the fines are ending up into the 50-foot area.
What is that, 164,
There aren't really any
163? It's
steep
kind of
slopes.
flat.
Yeah.
No?
So a silk fence should work to prevent anything.
My recommendation would be a minimum 12-inch silt sock. I think that would be appropriate for this site and for this work. And then in regards to potential alteration within the 50-foot during construction, so I think another special condition would be that the erosion control boundary be staked out by survey prior to installation of the sock, and then once the sock has been installed, be inspected by myself, and then just generally part of any order of conditions. If there's alteration beyond the approved limit of work, it's the applicant is liable for any damages that result from activities that happen during construction.
Yeah.
And that's built into, the standard order of conditions provided by DEP, as well as the special order conditions that are issued under the bylaw.
Just so the commission knows, Dave, because I'm familiar with that area, there probably won't be any stockpiling material. The road, the elevation of the road, Caitlin could maybe...
Is higher than the
is
lot.
about 10 feet in most spots. There is a mound that's high in the middle where the house is going, but not much.
The lot is 10 feet down?
Yeah, they're gonna be bringing a lot of fill in, I would think, to get to the level point of the road, so it's gonna be pitched to the wetlands. Just so you know what
Oh, okay.
elevations
Yep.
they're looking at.
It doesn't look like they propose a lot of fill.
So the area of the septic definitely has a steeper drop off from the road. Where the proposed house is going, there's less of a drop off from the roadway.
These are the existing contours, right? 162?
Yes.
160.
Proposed 164, 163, so they're 2 feet of fill.
Yeah, that's not much.
It's, well, compared to other things, it's
Yes.
not that much,
It's all relative.
Put a lot in, but yeah, so there is some coming in, but not a huge amount. It doesn't, like 158, this is...
So what is it, 166?
It's 170 at the road, though, isn't it? No?
It says 166 at the road, so it doesn't obviously say inside the
then,
road, but
yeah,
it is
so-
sloping
Down
down and
and then
back.
up.
But only like 3 feet and looks like about 70 feet.
Guess we'd have to talk to the engineer.
I think it's interesting. I'm surprised. I don't know if Norfolk has a rule where the driveway, the garage, can't be lower than the street. There are other towns have that rule. It's not a Conservation
Yeah.
Commission rule, but, because of course, the water just comes right off the road.
Sheathing
and
off the
into
road
your-
down into the garage.
I've seen flooded driveways where people use sandbags, so it's something to consider. It's not something that you would require, but if you're the property owners, you might consider a trench drain before the entrance to the garage.
Let me
And
ask
do
somebody.
they have a driveway material picked out? This going to be asphalt?
No, there's no material proposed.
It's not that much of a slope, so. So there shouldn't be any need for any, like, regeneration or any station at the end of the driveway, 'cause it's only like a 3-foot pitch and all of that? You don't think, or?
I mean, the way that it's designed, it looks like stormwater will sheet flow off the driveway down towards the wetlands, which is, basically what is currently happening now, except there's obviously going to be more impervious surface.
It's still quite a ways from the wetland, so. Because we've had some that have been closer, and we've just made them pitch the drive, so they don't get the sheathing off the driveway. And
Right.
through- if you get a really big storm and undermine the grassed area, or. But it's not a really, like you said, it's not a very, it's kind of flat for the most part.
Yeah.
Not very
and-
much of a pitch.
Yeah, and there's, the driveway area itself is relatively small. And it looks like some of it will also flow into the roadway, into the existing drainage structures that are within the roadway.
All right, any further discussion?
Back to
Recommendation?
potential plan revisions. One would be to potentially show an approximate stream location where there's that channel that connects the pipe to the BBW. Or the commission can also consider having it delineated in the field. However, based on the fact that no work is occurring within 50 feet of that area, and the work won't have any adverse impact to the drainage features there or topography in that location. I think an approximate boundary would be sufficient for this type of filing. And then in the order of conditions, note that, it's an approximate, so any, future filings, everyone will know that that wasn't actually delineated
And you
in
do
the
want it
field.
registered by a professional.
Yes, and then the plan should be stamped by a PE and a PLS. The PE for the septic system, and then because we're working with such a small area, having a PLS stamp the plan would be wise as well.
Do you know what a PLS is?
No, yeah.
A professional land surveyor.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so Dunn & McKenzie has both PLSs and PEs on staff, and presumably they were going to have both stamps on the plans anyways. And also, I would recommend that a revision be added noting that the stream bank for Mill River as well as the 200-foot riverfront area are approximate, since no actual field evaluation was done to where the mean annual high water is.
Makes sense. Okay.
No, that's a good idea, because we've had plans that we're looking at 10 or 15-year-old plans, and we can't tell whether it was, what do they call one, a brush swamp, drainage, or, recharge area that was done, and we can't tell whether it's wetlands, whether it's that, so
Having it on the
it's a
original.
lot better to have it at least noted that it's not from the Mill River, it's going out to the BVW, and it's approximate, so that when we look at it years from now,
Right, sometimes
Haven't-
people
yeah.
don't actually look at the, the written order, they look at the plan and, go off of that
Yeah.
only.
it makes it easy too, if somebody wants to add a garage on that side, we've already got it noted that this is something we need to look at, as opposed
Exactly.
to somebody looking at it and planning and going, well, there's nothing on your map, so you're good.
So I can reach out to the engineer who's putting together the plan and outline everything that we've discussed. And if it's okay with the commission, I can work with them to figure out where it's appropriate to put a split rail fence and where it's appropriate to just do the markers on some type of, concrete pillar, or, whatever they decide.
So continue this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Will they be able to have everything ready, you think, by next meeting, or would it be the following meeting that, in August, that we'd be looking to do OOC?
Based on my
No, I-
discussion with the applicant earlier, I think they should be able to have everything prepared for the meeting in July.
By July.
Yeah, if everything, I think one of the things that David and I talked about was having the NOI and OOC ready for the meeting, as opposed to voting on, talking about the things we'd already talked about, and then approving it, and then having to wait till the following month
To sign it.
to sign it and close it. And then, they're waiting a whole month for their orders, so.
Okay, so I definitely can have
I don't want to speak
a
for
draft
everyone
order of
else, but
No,
conditions.
that's,
You know,
I think
that's
that's common practice, is when you close, you sign, and it's rare that you don't have something to sign that night.
Yeah.
Because if you close, you have to sign it within 21, there's a certain amount of days you're
Yeah.
supposed to.
correct, well, that's the
And normally it's
problem,
outside
yeah.
the business meeting.
Or we all
normal
have to
meeting.
come back in and
Sign it.
see a lane,
Yeah, so.
which is very difficult.
15?
No,
To see a lane, that is.
yeah.
Wow.
No.
Alan, you're supposed to be quiet.
Any issue, if we say we do have some small issue next month, that we can vote on it, add that to the orders of condition, and then, so that, we can vote and sign with an amendment.
Yeah.
So-
that they don't have to wait
Yeah, so if, the revised plans come in, and there are some additional special conditions, based on the revised plans, the commission can discuss those that night and sign, and then there's still 21 days to actually issue the order of conditions.
And if something comes up, you could email us and inform us so that when we come in here, we can say, okay, this is what, we can take a vote and explain.
Yeah, so as long as special conditions are discussed prior to closing the hearing, they can be written up after voting to close the hearing.
Okay. Yeah, we're just trying to speed up the number of items that we've had, because we've added an extra day because we didn't have orders ready. That's,
Yeah.
we was talking to Rich about, was trying to speed up some of the orders and have them ready for, the meeting, so they didn't have,
It's hard, but we can do it because if something changes. But, all right, why don't I accept a motion to continue 15 Hanover Street, NOI 240-0640, until the July meeting, which is July 6th at 7 o'clock.
Adam Zucker, so moved.
Is there a second?
Jim Olson second.
Any further discussion? Audience? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously.
I think I can't vote on this one because I didn't.
You
I
weren't in the
hadn't been
orig-
around.
yeah.
So I
One
think I have
abstention.
to, yes.
I am recused.
Yeah.
Hopefully we have 4. I can vote under necessity to continue
Yeah.
if needed, but if we don't need.
But
me,
we've got the
then-
majority, so we squeak by. Okay. That's it for you. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, I'll be in touch.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, we'll move to Industrial Drive Dam, which is the Department of Corrections. They have a DPE number now, correct? And the work's
Yes.
been done?
They were issued the file number with no comments from DEP. And I'm not sure if anyone is here representing the project tonight.
Oh,
Oh, online?
Mariko?
Mauricio.
Mauricio? No, I don't recognize any of those names from Department of Corrections.
So after reviewing all the NOI submittal documents, it's my opinion that the applicant has sufficiently described all of the work that's taken place. And they've done everything they could to minimize impacts, considering that, it was an emergency issue that required immediate attention. Jim, you weren't here at the last meeting, but we had a presentation that documented monitoring of the entire process.
It's a big dam.
And
You still can't get up on the screen, can you, Elaine?
Oh, no.
You can? Do you have the slides from Department of Corrections? Or
So this was
Industries
like a
Drive
maintenance
Dam?
program for them also?
no, so what had happened is the embankment of the dam failed near the culvert and spillway area, and then after the embankment failed, the culvert itself failed.
Flooded the what?
Yeah, there was flooding, there was quite a bit of sediment that went into the river there. Once the dam and the culvert were repaired, that the flooding receded. There's quite a bit of sediment that's located, that's kind of formed like an island in the middle of the water body there. But there's really no practical way to remove that without further impacting the resource areas there. And based on what Andy
Manikowski.
Bakanowski had described, quite a bit of water moves through that dam as is, and there was kind of already an island there, and after large rain events, it kind of shifts back and forth because the amount of water that goes through the dam and the rate at which it flows. There is going to be an inspection by the Office of Dam Safety in September, which I plan to attend. And at that point, they'll be making a determination whether or not any additional work needs to take place. And if they do decide that any additional work will take place, they'll need to file a notice of intent for that, not after the fact.
Now, does the dam fall under DPW and then the state, or only DPW if it's a town?
I know it doesn't fall under DPW.
So
Yeah,
this
no
is, the dam is
jurisdiction.
located in the Department of Correction property, and it's owned entirely by the DOC.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah, you don't walk out there by yourself. They'll shoot you.
yeah, once I get
Just
out,
wear
I'm out.
stripes. Or an orange jumpsuit.
Okay,
We can
so
get you out there, though.
Their regulations are from the state as far as how the dam and the inspection and all that comes from the state?
Yes.
The Dam Inspection
Yeah.
Department.
Okay.
Was this opened at the last meeting?
Yes,
Or is it, okay, so that was the first time you had heard anything about the,
yes, I believe so, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We knew they were coming and that they gave us, Andy had given us a indication when they were doing the work. But because it was an emergency, they had to get it done. And then he said, we'll file. And so we were,
This failed in the middle of a snowstorm in the middle of the winter.
yeah.
And they had to hustle to get it before the dam did let go and flood everybody downstream.
yeah.
So that's why it
I
was
saw
an
the
emergency.
presentation last time,
Yeah.
so I'm well up. And we
Yeah.
heard
Yeah.
about cows and or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
There was a
The
lot.
pins are still
There
there.
was a full sidebar on the
Property,
cattle.
yes.
Maggie, have you inspected
So-
them yet?
The cattle?
No, the stockyard.
We just talked
Have to
about
get
if
a
we walked
time
out there, we'd
machine
like
for
get
that.
shot or end up in prison.
Too funny. Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah, no, that was the first opening of the hearing, so I'll take a motion to have this continued until the next meeting at 7:05. Oh, do you want to issue the OOC, though?
Yeah, so I think
Oh, okay.
they've done everything they can to describe the work and provide what mitigation they could. All the resource areas that were impacted, they were temporary impacts except for around 2,000 square feet of riverfront area. That was a permanent alteration. But due to the new configuration of the dam, there's nowhere to provide additional plantings or anything like that. So I think that the commission has everything they need to issue an order of conditions for the described work.
So
You
they
have those
have,
ready?
Yes, we have the signature page for that.
Ray, Regan?
I was just wondering, so they did not propose any mitigation for the additional impacts to riverfront?
So in the NOI documents, they address that there aren't any areas to provide plantings without disturbing another type of resource area, whether it be, I think there's floodplain or wetlands, so
It does, the regular, I'm not sure, so I have, is there a way, do we get, is there an online public place for us to load materials so that we have access to them before the meetings, or?
Well, normally what Elaine can do that is the meeting comes forward, she can attach different documents regarding each case.
And just by email, not like on online, the town doesn't have like an online system?
I was actually going to address this under other business.
Go ahead.
But I guess
It's
since you
opened
asked
up.
now. So through the town email, you have access to the shared drive, and for each meeting, We upload all the meeting documents, figures, things that are going to be presented at the meeting. And so access to that is through the town email. And I was going to, if someone would rather prefer, if it's easier for them to have it go through a different email, a personal email, you can reach out to us so that we know to share the drive to your personal email versus your town email. But prior to the next hearing, I think everyone should make sure they have access and can get in and view the documents. And if there are any issues, we can work that out prior to the meeting in
Regan,
July.
did you get your Norfolk email?
I did,
Okay.
I did. I'm in.
Also, if you want to view them on your phone, you just have to download the app.
What's the app?
The Google Drive
Oh.
app.
Oh, okay.
And then you can open up, your Google Drive and you'll see that.
Okay.
Hard to see plans.
So there
on
is a
a
way for us to
phone.
see things
is.
in
Yeah.
advance.
Yes, and you should also have the ability to add stuff, say, if one of you were to go by a site or, take pictures of something that you wanted to address, you would have the ability to add that to the meeting folder.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm just curious, because it is a state entity, but, the riverfront standards do allow for off-site mitigation. It doesn't have to be on-site. So, I know, one thing that we've done in the past is to make them pay into a fund to do some work to treat non-natives in ponds as off-site mitigation, because it's a financial obligation that the applicant is not normally required to do.
How do you determine the dollar amount?
I know, that's the tough part, yeah. We've been kind of cautious at first, we don't want to make somebody pay $1 million into
Oh,
a
yeah.
fund because, but.
It's relative.
A couple $100s, couple $1,000, depending on the square footage of impact and things like that. If it's a single-family house, we don't want to overburden somebody, but allowing people to, especially riverfront, use their private property, but still make improvements to the riverfront and, be able to do some good and make it better somehow. So I mean, this project obviously was an emergency, and they don't have a lot of flexibility. I wouldn't push it, but, I guess I am a proponent if we can get something from somebody that we try.
Maybe reach out to Andy.
Yeah,
and say-
I think in this case it would be tough since it was, 2,000 square feet of alteration out of a total of I think it was 320,000 square feet of riverfront area on the property. So that's less than 0.01%. And, applicants are allowed to alter up to 10% of riverfront area on a parcel.
For new development, right? Is it new development?
Yes, for new development.
So-
But this dam went in prior to the Wetlands Protection Act, so.
The original dam.
The original dam. So it wouldn't be the case where you're correct, if someone were to build a house and then, 10 years later, go to, build another structure on their property, they wouldn't be able to then alter an additional 10%. It would count towards the original 10%. But for things that were in place prior to the, the Wetlands Protection Act and the Rivers Protection Act, those are grandfathered in.
Okay. Any further questions?
So, not to belabor this, maybe this is something we could talk about maybe in the wintertime when we don't have as many appointments, is maybe get some advice on maybe in the future, if these type of things are coming about, they understand that, hey, if you're going to do this, then we're going to require this as a payment or into a general fund, which we may use to fix our trails. or something.
Whatever.
to that
I think it
effect
has to
that-
go towards improving the wetland, wetland protection,
So, yeah,
Yeah.
treatment,
so treatment of the ponds, if we had town property that's degraded that needed to be, that we could improve, that would be ideal, but I don't know if that exists.
We are
ponds.
starting with the capital fund to treat all our waterways, so
yeah.
that money could definitely go to easing the burden of that.
But that's
Yeah.
out of a fund that's already funded. Not by us, by tax
Well, we could talk
dollars.
about
yeah, we
alternatives
could- yeah.
to, on-site mitigation.
Yeah.
Because I think it's an interesting opportunity, but it's challenging to find appropriate off-site mitigation
Yeah.
for that language.
And
Wait till they close down the other prison.
And so, depending on what the outcome of the inspection is in the fall, if additional work is going to be required, at that point, the commission would have more say in what happens as far as mitigation, enhancements, things like that. Based on the presentation, it does sound like the Office of Dam Safety is leaning on adding or having some additional protections for this specific dam.
I liked the idea that he's presented about removing it. I know that would be a big project, but, there are grants available for that.
I just went to a dam removal project in Norwood, and it was a very small dam, and I think it cost them like 2-point-something million dollars.
Wow.
And it was like, I don't think it was even 100 feet across.
Yeah, this one would be
It would
huge.
be
But the
huge.
impact, the benefits, I think, would be huge,
Yeah.
too, if it were possible.
To break down the dam?
Yeah, to remove it.
That whole area out there is
It would
all
really make
just
the water-
wetlands.
Yeah.
What's that?
There's miles of wetlands out there.
Yeah.
I want to say, around the prison.
You'd have to slowly do it so it doesn't flood.
But if they took the dam out and turned it into, it would just be a complete,
It'd be a nice river.
nice area with a river running through it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I don't know, that's what
Okay.
I would,
So-
it's worth investigating anyway, even if it's not
Yeah.
financially. If the end of the feasibility is that it's not feasible for whatever reason, financial or, property
Practical
damage
reasons.
or what have you, but.
Okay. So let's take a motion for order of conditions for that work.
Do we have to close the meeting first?
Yes, we do. So I'll take the motion to close the meeting for Industries Drive Dam, DEP number 240-0650.
Jim Wilson, so moved.
Fellstone, I second.
Any further discussion on closing the meeting? Then all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. I'll accept a motion for order of conditions for said Industrial Drive Dam.
Al Finney, so moved.
Aggie Crow, second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it passes.
I abstained. I wasn't here last week.
We'll get you.
I'm not qualified to.
Now, the lawyers are supposed to attend?
Yes.
He's on the Zoom. Hi, Tom.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you.
Okay, we've got 7 minutes because we have you down at 8 o'clock. Or can we move that up? Appointment.
If you're asking for legal advice, you can take me whenever you want because it's not a posted hearing, it's just an agenda item.
Okay. All right, Tom, we'll take your guidance. How are you?
And the fact that it benefits me should not be considered at all. I am well. How are you all?
We're all doing good.
Good. So I'll launch right in if that's okay.
Please.
Okay, so you may recall that at our most recent annual town meeting, the town voted to convert and amend our current general and zoning bylaws to a general code product that's known as E-code. And so what E-code does is a couple of things. The first thing they do is they go through all our bylaws and they renumber them, and they have a general format that they use. And so I'll tell you that I believe there's, I think, 135 towns in Massachusetts that have converted to E-code. And so E-code has taken all of their bylaws and put them into the same format that we converted ours to. So the idea is that we still get to adopt the wording we want, but the format is more consistent across the state, and that's good for a couple of reasons. One, anyone who works in this town and another town will be able to find things quicker. It also helps when we're defending our bylaws in court, because when they're making decisions, if they look like ours, that makes ours easier to defend. So as part of that E-code process, we did take our current wetlands bylaw and convert it into the E-code format. And so what I'm here to do is, and this is just kind of a kickoff meeting, and I'm hoping Caitlin and Elaine distributed to you the regulations, your current wetlands protection regulations, but they have been converted to the E-code format of wetlands protection regulations. And so what I'm hoping... Did someone have a question?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So what I'm hoping we can do probably early fall is vote to readopt our regulations into the E-code format. We don't need to do it until the early fall, because you may recall that when town meeting amends a bylaw, it goes to the Attorney General's office for approval, so it doesn't become a true bylaw or a enforceable bylaw until the Attorney General approves it. I suspect the Attorney General's approval will come to us sometime in September. So once that happens, part of the E-code product is also taking whatever wetlands regulations we have and putting them into the E-code format, so we can do that too. And so then we'll have in the portal both our wetlands protection bylaw and also our regulations, which makes them more accessible to the public. So the draft that you have is exactly the same as what is currently in place, with two changes. And those changes are, wherever our regulations refer to town treasurer and tax collector, we updated the name to what we use, which is treasurer/collector. And then we found one typo in new section 330-8F, parenthetical 7, where we changed the words recording the permit to recording the order, as that seemed more accurate. Other than that, those regulations are exactly the same as what you have now.
Oh, wait a minute, Tom. You didn't
Yeah.
distribute those, right, Elaine?
They're in the shared drive.
Oh, they're in the shared drive? Okay. So yeah, we'll take a look at them.
Right, yeah, and you have all summer to do it.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, the kind of guy I am.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's all I wanted to say is that,
Okay.
we have an opportunity to convert our wetlands regs into the E-code format. We're signing up for the E-code format, so it seems like the right thing to do. I'm going to have the same discussion with planning, and we're hoping that planning also converts theirs to the E-code format. So again, nothing for you to do tonight or even in the next couple of months. It sounds like those regulations are in the shared drive, so at your convenience, take a look and make sure that they seem appropriate to you, and they should look exactly the same, just different numbering and different headers.
I'll play the devil's advocate. How about if we say no?
If you say no, then the answer is no, and we'll keep your current regulations. However, we would need to jump into your current regulations, because right now your current regulations reference the old version of your wetlands protection bylaw, and so we would want to update them since we've adopted the updated numbering to the wetlands bylaw.
Okay.
So if the answer is no, we would at least want to go into your current ones and just change citations. Other than that, you can leave them as is if you choose to do so.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for Tom?
I actually have one. If, what I was contemplating, and I don't know if the town can be part of a living trust when it comes to property, that if, say for example, I had 20 acres and I wanted to leave 15 to the town, 5 to my heirs, but for the next 20 years or however long I live, I don't want to have to pay property tax. But at the time of my death, the town gets the 15 acres and my heirs get the 5 acres. Is that something that is possible we could do to try to, so what's happening is we wait until the person who owns the 20 acres passes, and then we're paying an exorbitant fee to try to buy 20 acres of buildable lots, as opposed to getting ahead now and saying, hey, for the next 20 years, you're not going to pay any property tax, but we'll get 15 of the acres that we can put in conservation under your name, and then your heirs get 5 acres to do whatever they want with.
As I'm just kind of thinking about it, I'm going to give you my preliminary answer with the thought that if you want me to dive into that a little more, I'd want to do kind of a little specific research. But so we can't, right? So with land, either we own it or we don't own it. So if what we're acquiring is a right to own land in the future, I don't think we could take it off the tax rolls. I am wondering if, and I'm assuming you all are familiar with the idea of chapter land, which doesn't eliminate real estate taxes, but it greatly reduces real estate taxes to, I think, 10% of the.
But we could also, how about if instead of being at the point that we make the agreement of the living trust, the land does go to conservation and we rent it from them? And the rental fee would be enough to cover their taxes.
So yeah, we
This
could
is a whole,
certainly
I
do
know,
that.
this is a whole kit and caboodle.
What's that?
Yeah, so that's, we can rent property. It would require a town meeting vote. And I would say probably the better term is lease property, but we can lease property and we can pay for that leased property. And if that was the wash, that the leased property went to cover the taxes, that would work. I guess I'm trying to think about, so if I go back to your initial supposition, so that is, we have a landowner who owns 20 acres. The landowner knows they want to convey 15 to the town at their death and 5 to their heirs. But it's kind of the carrying cost of those 20 acres until the donor passes. Is that what we're trying to address here?
Yeah, and also how we can take advantage of obtaining the 15 acres or a portion of a piece of land for conservation properties.
Okay, I mean, so, well, why couldn't, I guess, if the donor knows they want to give us that land or sell us that land, why can't we just buy it now?
Right. Or hypotheticals.
Yeah, so I think we could acquire it now, and I think we could, so, again, speaking hypothetically, if they want to still use it, we could acquire it and allow them some use of it.
Sure.
You know, that could be part of the deal. But we own it, which should, if we're owning it, it should eliminate the real estate taxes.
Yeah.
As long as their use isn't too significant.
Yeah.
Although then you would be buying 15 acres of residential property versus putting those 15 acres into
Okay.
permanent conservation restriction, which would, the owner would get a one-time payout for those acres they're putting under a permanent restriction, which should cover the minimal property taxes on them. And then you know, if they sell or, you know,
I think-
pass, and, you know,
Yeah,
their
there's
heirs
restriction
want
is
to,
still there.
would,
Yeah, they would have
you
to,
know, would want to sell the 15 acres, then the town would be buying those acres at a reduced price versus, you know, 15 acres of
Market value.
developable land.
Yeah.
I think maybe, and I don't want to speak for Jim, but there's less and less parcels of land available. And if we can take advantage of some of these, maybe we should, maybe the town should. And I know two that we should look at, but we have to have further discussion on it before we can really bring it in front of the board. But it's something that is worth pursuing.
Oh, we pointed as, hey, during your retirement years, now you can use, your land now becomes almost like an additional 401K, because now you've reduced your property taxes every year, while still maintaining your lifestyle on your property. Nothing changes that way. It's just for, 20 years, you're taking out value out of your property, and you won't have to pay your property tax. So that, with somebody getting ready to retire, or, paying off the kids' college tuition, and, saving up some money for retirement, being able to, live a little bit easier, and then being able to say, look, you're going to have a legacy because you're going to be leaving this property. But,
It's kinda like a
at the
reverse
same point,
mortgage.
What's that?
Kinda like a reverse
over the 20
mortgage.
years, we probably pay the equivalent, but for the town, it's an easier, it's almost like we're paying a mortgage on this property as opposed to one lump sum coming
Like
out
you
of
said,
one
it's a
year.
reverse mortgage.
Yeah, so it's pretty much that,
Yeah.
but,
So it's doable, you're saying, Tom?
I certainly think there's ways to think about it, and I think there's some creative vehicles that we could consider. And I also would say that when the commission wants to consider the acquisition of land, you can do so in executive session, so that, either A, you're not tipping your hand, or B, you're not kind of sharing someone's private ideas
Yeah.
publicly until you're ready to do so.
Oh, okay. I think you should be prepared probably for in the next 3 to 4 months, that we'll have maybe something or two in front of you.
Sounds exciting.
All right, thank you. We appreciate your time tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good evening.
And we'll, absent that, we'll check back in the early fall about the regulation.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a deal. Enjoy your summer. Thanks. Okay. 358 Main Street, enforcement order.
Before we get
Yeah,
into that, did you want to discuss an appointment for the
CPC?
CPC?
I think Alan and Adam are two candidates.
Potentially.
Well, I'd like to settle this tonight because the year is almost ending, and I'd like to end the end of June. It's open to anybody. I mean,
We have somebody
what?
upstairs wants to have
You got a nibble from upstairs?
We did, yeah. So
Nice.
maybe we
Wait a
could,
minute. Explain that.
because I believe they would like to have that on the select board agenda for their meeting at the end of June.
Oh, that we have somebody for them to appoint. Got it.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought I was going in a different direction.
So we don't necessarily it doesn't need to be decided tonight, but, I mean, it would be good if,
It would be good.
but.
They've had a month
I guess
to think
we
about
could
it.
table that topic for now, and everyone can think about their feelings on that.
what night during the week does it meet?
Typically, it's a Wednesday and the first Wednesday of the month.
So that would be tonight.
Oh, yeah, that's right, we changed. So they changed, was it the second Wednesday or something? Yeah, they did it for us. I asked them to, but I won't be able to find it, of course.
I nominate Val Stone. I myself would need to know more of what it
Okay.
takes. I don't know what CPC is even, so
Okay,
I can't
all
just
right.
jump into something, you know, dive into pool,
It's
not
the
be
second
able to
Wednesday of the month is what they're looking at. The Community Preservation Committee is a committee that spends funds that come from our property taxes. There's a little percentage of your property tax that goes into this fund. In the origin of this from the state, it's a state decided that, you know, this would be a good thing, and it has, and they threw money at it. And so there's 3 major areas: affordable housing, open space, conservation, and historical. And so what you do is talk about requests. Basically, people will come from the town and say, I would like to repaint the tramp house. Could we have money for the paint? And so it would be voted on. Some things are, there's limits that have to go to town meeting before you can give money. Like if we said we want to buy a piece of property with CPC funds, we'd have to go to town meeting because it's big dollars. And I don't know the minimum threshold and stuff like that, but
So in other words, if you had a recommendation per se, the old town hall going to a historical museum,
yeah,
you go through the CPC to get funding to maybe turn the old town hall into
possibly
something of that nature.
Yeah.
There's 4 categories of, there's historical, open space and recreation, community housing, or housing development. Or 3 pots of money, and each one has a certain amount allocated to it, and then you compete for applications.
There's a general purpose one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we have a general purpose fund.
Oh,
And
okay.
that we can trade money over if we, you know, for, let's say, recreation, Pond Street, when they developed it. I don't know if they did or not, but if they said, hey, we don't have all the money in our box, okay, we'll transfer over X dollars to cover all the funds.
Oh, okay.
And so it's a nice way of being able to tackle jobs and projects with money that doesn't really affect the town property owners. And as I said in the beginning, the state threw money at it. I forgot what they're giving now. Every year it comes up and the legislature passes, you know, so many percent and this and that, so.
Yeah, they change it every year, how much they match
Yeah.
to the taxes, and it's
Some-
taxes and fees that are collected by the county. And, so yeah, you apply to it if you have a project, and then your role on the committee is to decide what gets funded and what doesn't, with these funds.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I would
because you
do
get
it,
to
I would
see-
totally do it, but I can't do another night meeting because I have small kids. I would be on top of it because I
Yeah.
think it's really a powerful position to be able to say, like, with these competing projects, what is gonna get funded and what isn't.
Yeah.
Because they're all good, usually, and it's hard to I think it's hard to decide.
And it's like they did the weed removal or the invasive plants. You know, our conservation has a seat on the commission, so yeah, I brought it and said, hey, this is what we need, and that, you know, we had all the quotes and things like that. And so they were able to review it after a couple of months and then pass it, so. Yeah, it's interesting. You get to see some of the backside of what's happening in town because, you know, there's money going to these different things that you say, oh, I didn't even know about that. So, but yeah, I've been on there a number of years now, and I want to start going in the sunset.
We really did hijack you last year. I just said.
Yeah, when I was in an invalid state, you.
You in an invalid state, come on. So who upstairs is pushing, they need a,
Oh, no, it's
oh.
Select
Yeah,
board.
select
Board
board.
is- oh.
You know, as soon as they get wind somebody wants to get out, though. So let's see. So, yeah, give it serious thought for the June meeting, so we can place it, unless somebody wants to volunteer now.
I think Adam wanted to do it.
Wow.
It's funny because I thought I heard somebody say Elaine was interested.
You know, we could extend that offer to her.
How long is the appointment for?
This will be for 1 year. It normally is a 3-year term, but you're just finishing up my term. And I don't have patience to last another
And then they will ask you to do an additional
7.
3 years?
No, I mean, at the end of next year, you can resign
Yeah.
and say, I don't want it anymore, and the Conservation Commission has to...
Right, but I'm feeling right now that if you don't, if you don't get a new seater, you can't resign. You have to stay.
Right.
Is that what you're feeling over there, Adam, at all?
Yeah, like you got to find
You're
somebody
saying,
else.
I need
I'd like to find somebody.
So I can get out of
No,
here.
I like to find somebody, but I think I could resign from it, and we just won't
And
be
we would- we
representative,
wouldn't have a
which is
seat.
not good.
It would hurt the quorum of the CPC. you
Well,
know.
the quorum would be
Have-
less.
Yeah, they wouldn't have a full board, and we wouldn't be represented, yeah.
But yeah, it is an interesting thing to learn about what projects may be being considered, and their meetings, some months they don't even meet. We haven't met for a month or so. They do it over Zoom. We do have one scheduled for June. But a lot of times, there's just nothing to talk about. So if there's nothing to talk about.
Who are the other members in the whole seats? Is it, just off the top of my head, is it, you know?
Your head?
Your head, I mean.
Paul
You know,
Terrio,
But I mean,
Cindy
what are they
Andres.
affiliated with? Are
The
they
other board.
There are a lot of at-large.
at-large people?
Yeah,
residents?
every ward has an at-large.
Okay,
Plus conservation, historical,
okay,
and recreation.
all right. Okay, I just
There's a
wonder who's
banded,
seated on,
yeah,
on,
yeah. So, and they meet here.
I did see a twinkle in Val's eye when you started describing it. I don't know what it means.
My peripheral vision wasn't good. I'm glad you caught that, Adam. It wasn't off the earring, it was his eye.
Well, I'll do it if Al
Wait a minute, if.
or Adam decided something they don't want to do. So we have,
I will consider.
so consider it, and if you don't want to...
I don't want to give a yes or no tonight, but I will consider.
You have to check with the manager.
I'd
Talk to
like
your
to
boss
speak
at
to you on
home.
a sidebar. An executive session, no.
Okay.
Well, how about this, David?
Yeah.
Between the three of us, we'll figure out who's going to do it, so
However you decide.
comfortably leave.
Yeah.
We'll
Yes.
figure out something
Yes,
Thank you.
before,
that sounds,
one of us,
Fight
yeah,
over
that
it.
sounds good.
somebody will do it, like
Okay.
Alan.
We have to draw straws now.
I just nominate him, you second.
We don't do that. Okay. So 358 Main Street, the enforcement order, we're at?
Yes, and did everyone get a copy of that?
Yeah, I can't open it up.
So, up on the screen is an image of 358 Main Street. The blue line represents...
This is down by City Mills Pond.
Yes, it's right across the street. Mill River actually branches off, and it's on either side of that property. And so what I was looking at aerials, I noticed that work had taken place there recently, and I went to check the order of conditions to see what was going on, and it was at that point that I discovered that a notice of intent was filed back in fall of 2019 that was withdrawn November 2019. So no work was ever approved. They withdrew without prejudice. And then early in 2020, they went ahead and did the work anyways. And in addition to the work that was originally in the NOI scope, there was additional clearing and structures that were placed. So the circular track area, so the blue line is an approximate 200-foot riverfront area boundary. So the circular track area, there was a good amount of trees that were cleared from in there. So this is
So they
north.
built that huge warehouse structure?
No, that's not that
So that's
far.
360
That's
Main Street,
Camger.
and that did get an order of conditions for that.
Okay.
It's a manufacturing
That's where I
plant.
was
I was
confused.
gonna say,
'cause I
that's
said they did
old. I'm
come
like,
in-
No, that's a manufacturing plant.
Straight on
the
This is
road.
the horse track, and it belongs to the people in the back,
Okay.
I believe, right?
I thought she owned Camja.
I believe it was the same family that owned both.
Who's the owner?
The house that was up front by the existing, where they put the new building down there?
Yeah.
There was houses there. I believe she lived there and she moved out back now, behind the track.
She's in Anandoli?
I believe, I'm not sure of name, but I thought.
I think it's the Longobardi family.
Yeah, I don't. Because it's the, yeah, what I just said, Iandoli, or,
Yeah. I thought
Iandoli?
they were related into Camja, the building
Maybe it's the
itself, or
in-laws or something.
some way. And they built a house out back, behind the track there, and tore down her house up front, which was where the new building that came in
Yeah.
front of us last year
yeah.
was built.
They put in a lot of fill. They added-
No, that fill on the right is from the,
Between the Camger and the horse track?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
that was from the building
Oh, really?
area, yeah.
So it's,
Yeah, and
They didn't bring
when
it
they
in.
were in front of us, yeah, they were going to put it,
Yeah.
mound it and grass it, and
gotcha.
So that track, I thought that track was always been there.
it's been,
So
it has, a long time.
yeah, the track itself has been there. There's the eastern portion. There's a large isolated vegetated wetland there. And there was vegetation clearing. It looks like there was potentially filling and also installation of fencing in that area greater than, it's hard to tell exactly how much alteration happened there, but it was definitely greater than 5,000 square feet, which would mean that a permit is required from Army Corps as well. I mean, and then isolated wetlands are protected under the bylaw. And also there was unapproved riverfront area clearing within the track area, and then in the area that's circled in red.
So they cleared land to the river from there?
Yes, it's about 75 feet away from the mean annual high water.
That would be to the right of the track we're talking, or the left
To the
side?
left. So the
left
Mill
side.
River, it branches off into two segments that go on the western and eastern sides of that whole
One of them
parcel.
goes through the Camger plant.
And both of them
Yes.
are perennial. So there's riverfront area on both sides.
Because if I'm not mistaken, now, on the right side where the track is, the right side of the blue line, the river runs through there, which Hanover Street is right on the other
Yeah,
side of that.
Hanover Street's right on the other side, correct?
Yeah, that's.
All right.
1 and 5 Hanover Street in the corner there.
They're
by
right there in the
Adam.
corner.
How they weave together.
So we're attacking it from both sides. Let's see. So the trees you're saying that were removed in vegetation is in the red area? On the
In the red area, and then there was also tree removal with the inside the track in parts of, on the northern extent within the riverfront area.
How did somebody find this out?
Yeah.
I
Went
just,
for a walk.
no, I just noticed that work had taken place, and for some reason, I wanted to check out the order of conditions, and then that's when I noticed there wasn't any.
So did they build a single-family house?
Yes, there's a single-family house. There's also a large barn, and then there's also some other like storage type
Back on the left.
containers and.
And those were all new?
Yeah, that stuff up back there, you can't even see from the street.
No.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that
so,
existed.
and,
That's all new stuff.
yeah, that's all new. That's not on the 2021 aerial. That's, this is from Google Maps, which was taken in 2022. I'm not sure exactly when, but it was taken in the last 5 or so months.
Well.
But based on, the tree cover, it was,
Have you reached out to them?
so I sent I signed the enforcement order as a representative of the commission and sent that out certified mail. The owner received that today. It was sent to a post office box. And I got a call from a representative from United Consultants who did their septic design. They're going to be representing the property owner through this. He was not able to make it to the meeting tonight, and neither was the property owner.
That would be Mr. Goudreau.
Yes, yep. So one of the conditions of the enforcement order was either to come here tonight or to provide written confirmation of intent to comply with the enforcement order, which he's going to be sending along shortly. And then we're going to set up a time next week for a site walk to assess, exactly what type of work occurred within the IBW and the extent, because that is the larger issue. Obviously the unpermitted work in the riverfront area needs to be addressed, but likely they didn't go over the allowable 10%. But obviously, yeah, the IVW alteration needs to be addressed, and potentially Army Corps permits need to be filed for that, or areas need to be restored, which is once the extent is determined, it'll be up to the commission to decide what exactly needs to happen as far as restoration or allowable alteration.
And you said DEP's already said something on this?
No. So my recommendation would be that the commission vote to ratify the enforcement order tonight, then sign that, and then that would get sent out to DEP.
Okay.
Is that wetlands behind the red area that there was removal, is that owned by the Army Corps of Engineers? Which goes all the way over to Miller Street, or no?
So actually the house that's shown, the property boundary is like right along the edge there, and the parcel behind it is owned by a private owner. I can't remember exactly. I think it was like Longview LLC. I don't know if it's owned by the same family. I would assume so, since work has taken place there. But that's something that's going to have to be addressed as well.
Oh, there's a
So
lot of
they're
work
not-
going on back there that nobody knew about.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So-
and based on the areas that were paved, it looks like there might be plans for additional structures, or I don't know exactly what's
Intent.
going. Yeah, or storage of materials that might not be appropriate near the riverfront area, things like that. So,
So this topical is new? Is that recent?
yes, this is from 2022, and if you want to pull up.
So the house,
Do you have the
the
old
house in the middle there is the house they just built. You
Yeah.
can see from the road, the one structure's
Behind
behind
it,
it
you
and that,
can't.
you can't,
No.
So this figure is from 2021.
Almost the same, isn't it? Oh, there's.
No, the structures further back aren't there.
So you can see the property line there. And most of the work had taken place at this point, except for some of the paving behind the house barn area. Do I have? I'm actually not sure if I have the 2019 aerial that shows.
The grassed areas and.
Yeah, that shows a good amount of the inside the track was forested with trees, as well as to the west along the wetland area there. So you can see the, the wetlands extend. So it looks like it was cleared, within 75 feet of the median annual high water and potentially even closer to the wetlands, definitely within the 50-foot no disturb.
Well, that, and it's increased the amount of water flow by going from forested to what they've done here.
Sure.
Yes, so it seems that it's being used as, single-family residential, so they would be exempt from stormwater regulations, although based on, other site activities, definitely would want to see, if there's a business being conducted there, and whether or not.
You'd request a site visit.
Yeah, so I will be, so United Consultants is going to be reaching out with some dates next week.
But don't we have, maybe not through conservation, but don't they have to apply to the building department for deforesting in any area, whether it's in?
No, I don't think so, do they?
Building a house, they would.
I thought, yeah.
Do they?
Yeah, because I've seen.
Yeah, they did.
I've
They
seen
did
some
pull permits for
enforcement orders
those.
with people who have started deforesting areas, and there's a certain number of trees.
Yeah.
They allow you to take down, and after that, you need a permit.
Yeah, they don't want any more moonscape.
Yeah.
So the building department doesn't make sure that they've checked with conservation before issuing a building permit in Norfolk?
They do.
They do, and it
they
appears the
missed
former
it.
agent did not look at the permit when it was filed for, and so it was never flagged at that point.
So they asked, but the department said yes, they have a permit when they were never issued a permit?
We had no
Pretty
reservations.
much, yeah. Although the building permit they filed for with the septic design, that didn't include any of the clearing or work within the track area. So
They went above and beyond.
they went above and beyond. Yeah.
But also could it have been a timing thing with the NOI that they filed and then withdrew?
I
They had the
believe it
intent
was
to do it.
a
and so they
couple
said-
months afterwards.
Yeah. So we need to get them in here. But you're going to visit next week.
Yes. Yep.
And it looks like more than an acre of clearing.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Well, so they're in violation of the EPA as well.
I don't believe that applies to single family.
Yeah, any clearing over an acre, even a single-family house, requires a general construction permit.
They actually, well, I'd have to look more into building and what their process was through building and planning. That might have been, they might have gotten those permits. They obviously didn't get an order of conditions or submit an Army Corps permit for the IBW alteration. But I will look into whether or not,
I just think, well, it's true, they could have gotten, I would be surprised if they didn't get an order from us and they went and did the EPA notice of intent. And that's just
yeah.
many people try and skip around doing that.
Right.
Because the EPA doesn't have the staff unless we
Flag
call
it.
them and tell them about it. They don't drive around finding
Yeah.
things like this. They just don't have the people to do it. But
Okay,
anyway.
so it'll be interesting, your walk next week. But for tonight, I'd like the commission to ratify her cease and desist order,
The enforcement order.
enforcement order. Yeah, it's not cease and desist, enforcement order.
Gonna- So make a motion? You want?
Yep,
you wanna-
please.
So I, Regan Milani will make a motion to issue and ratify the enforcement order for the property at 358 Main Street.
Is there a second?
Maggie Crow, I second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. What do we have next? 72B North Street.
71 Union Street.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, 71 Union Street.
And I'll be recusing myself.
Okay.
Me too.
About hers?
Yes.
So a cease and desist was issued after it was noticed that unapproved work had taken place within the 100-foot buffer zone to BVW and potentially within the 100-foot buffer zone to IVW. The activities included removal of vegetation, mainly vines and shrubs. I did not observe any trees that had been removed. It's unclear whether or not there was ground vegetation there prior to the work. For the most part, the vegetation removal appeared to be within the outer 50 feet of the buffer zone, but there were areas where it was within 50 feet of the wetlands. So the property owner did reach out to me earlier today after he got the cease and desist. And he had stated that he was going to try to be here tonight. Doesn't seem that he is. But he has since hired Dunn & McKenzie to perform a property survey, as well as Russ Waldron, who's a wetland scientist, who's going to be flagging the wetland resource areas out there. And based on information from Dunn & McKenzie, they should have a plan within 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
He's not going to be conducting any work until the plan has been approved by the commission.
Now, was he removing invasive plants mainly?
Yeah, so there is a good amount of, well, I'm not sure exactly how much bittersweet there was, but that was the purpose of the work, was to remove a lot of vines, as well as clearing the understory of the woods behind the property. I explained the 50-foot no disturb buffer to him, and
Is this 71 Union?
yes, this is 71 Union Street.
That's Colonial?
Yeah.
Yes, and so the
It's not the yellow one. It's-
green
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
area that's at the top of the image
On the
is
bottom.
what I had estimated to be IVW based on vegetation. I didn't look at soils in that area, but when I receive information from the wetland scientist who goes out there to flag that area, I'm going to make sure that, he evaluated that as potential IVW. So some of the clearing had taken place like right along the property boundary and into the 69 Union Street property. So that was fairly close to the IVW area, if it is in fact an IVW. And then the forested area behind the maintained lawn, that's where a lot of the understory clearing had taken place. The wetland line that's shown based on GIS is accurate for the most part, although it does extend a little bit more into the property in the the southern corner, and that's where vegetation removal had taken place within the 50-foot no disturbance
What do you think
area.
he's planning to do back there?
So based on our conversation, his intentions was just to clear the area out.
Whole area?
Not the trees, just the understory. I explained to him the 50-foot no disturb zone, and said that, likely he's going to have to revegetate that area. And then if he wants to, keep the rest of the buffer zone clear, that would require an after-the-fact filing. So once I receive the plan and find out, exactly the extent of the activities, then I would make a recommendation whether or not an RDA would be sufficient, or if a notice of intent needs to be filed.
So, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask if an abutter called to let you know about this.
Yes.
You have two
He's sitting right next to you.
Well, and
One.
Val is also the abutter.
You guys are,
Let me ask the
And then in his
purple.
back,
Well, it's just far off the
property
street. I
line?
assumed that
Yep,
an
those are
abutter
the property
called
boundaries.
because.
and then he backs into Stony Brook, correct?
Yeah, by the looks of it, yep.
So is all of the violation on his property, or is the violation on others' property also?
It's also on 69 Union Street.
Okay. So we have a similar situation to Valentine Drive.
Yeah.
Yes, although
No, was Phil brought in?
no fill.
Okay, so it's close, but not quite.
And
Yeah, he removed
based on my
vegetation,
conversations
it looks
with the owner of 71 Union, he's already hired a surveyor, an engineer, and a wetland scientist to handle this issue. So,
Next meeting, we'll be able to address.
fingers crossed there won't be, any holdups, and that, this will get taken care of quickly.
Could you move that up forward? Up? Yeah. I want to see the swimming pool next to it.
What's that area right there, that flat area?
No, that's the Val's, right? No, what?
The, below.
Oh, the other
Yeah,
way.
the one on top is Adam's property, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, move, I want to see Adam's
Well,
property.
no, my wife
not
owns
there
it.
yet.
She lets me stay.
That's not the side we
No,
approved
yeah.
for the
The
pool.
pool's not in yet.
I mean, it is, but not on this
Right,
area.
it's not on
Yeah.
that aerial, okay.
Oh, we'll
Did you
get
see
the
that
drone.
airstrip I put in?
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll put the drone over there.
On the other side, yeah.
that's yours there.
Yeah.
So was it a tennis court or something there? or
It's a riding ring.
Oh, riding ring, okay.
Oh, that was Valentine Drive. They were flying drones over each other's property.
I don't want to go with those nightmares. Okay. Minutes to approve.
Did everyone get a copy of the minutes and have a chance to read them over?
Yeah.
Nice job, they're quite long, lengthy.
If there's no corrections, edits, et cetera, I'll take a motion to accept them.
I did not see any. Al Finney, I make a motion to accept the May 11th, 2022 meeting minutes.
Is there a second?
Adam Zucker, second?
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it passes. Okay, correspondence, 72B North Street.
I don't see anyone in the.
No.
I think I'm missing a page, but, so anyways, the property owner at 72B North Street had reached out about some proposed tree removal and was wondering whether or not there was an active permit open for the project. I looked into the file, and they actually, so when they constructed the single-family home there, they had filed for an RDA since only a small portion of the house and limit of clearing was in the buffer zone. I think it was in like the outer, like 85 to 100 feet of the buffer zone. And The RDA didn't mention anything about vegetation removal, so the RDA technically still is open. However, there was nothing about tree removal, so even though it's still open, the tree removal wouldn't be able to be added under that permit. We received this figure from the property owner about the tree removal, and I'm assuming the sketched, you can see the two sketched pencil lines
Yep.
right here, is the area that they want to clear, and round off the driveway area that they have there. Although I would need to get confirmation from her.
Oh, I see what they're doing, yeah.
So that area is outside the buffer zone, so it wouldn't require an additional permit. Since the property owner is not here, I'm going to reach out to her to set up a site inspection, go to the site, confirm the location they intend to remove trees. And if I'm able to confirm that it's outside the buffer zone and have your approval, I can give her the go-ahead to do the work. If I'm not able to determine whether or not it's greater or less than 100 feet, I would then advise her to file an RDA for that work.
So this is just somebody reaching out to the commission asking if the work requires a permit?
So they were wondering if it would be able to fall underneath or under the permit for the construction of the house.
Right.
But didn't really provide much information on the location other than the drawn lines in the plan, which is, one of the reasons that I would like to get confirmation from her, because presumably if she's asking whether or not it falls under the permit, I would think that it would be within the buffer zone.
Well, she might not know. She might just be like, I gotta check with conservation and make sure I can remove these trees.
Right.
Because it's tree removal and she doesn't know
Elaine,
what the
can you
laws
move it
are.
up a little bit?
Is everything on this plan right here existing right now, or is this a plan to build?
No, so this is
Okay,
this is was the existing conditions plan
is that North Street?
prior. I also have
That's what I'm
the-
trying to determine.
Yeah.
Where is this?
So it's off of North Street. There's a
On Johnson Way.
Johnson.
So Johnson Way to the right is North Street, all the way to the right.
But why is the address is North Street, even though it's on Johnson Way? Because of the
Apparently,
frontage?
well, so I think now it shows up on as 16 or 12 Johnson Way, but I believe when they filed the RDA, it was 72B North Street.
Okay.
Because, Dave, Johnson Way is there, so North Street's to the far right.
Exactly,
So you're talking way out in the woods there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been out there.
I was out there once in the 20 years I've been here.
Get any deer?
No. But that's why I'm trying to figure out where this is, Caitlin. That's why I'm trying to. in my
Yeah, that's what I
mind,
was trying to figure
where
out.
We're talking.
So, yeah,
That isn't even near North Street.
Yeah, there's, I want to say 5 or 6 lots along
yeah.
Johnson Way before you even hit North Street.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
it was
And then
probably
a-
an old lot that was just numbered that way in the assessor's database, and
Sure.
now it'll get an address.
Yeah.
Built house or
And there's
has
a lot of woods there.
So I believe the lot to the south of it is a larger lot that's on North
Which is
Street.
probably
I
Brumley's
think
property.
believe
No,
it's,
no,
I believe
Brumley's
it's
is across the way.
72.
Are they?
Yeah, right?
No, I thought Johnson Way is on the right going out. You're on the left.
That's state-owned land that has a North Street address.
No, Johnson, if you go down 115, it's on the left.
Johnson Way is on the left, or no, it's on the right? I believe.
If you're coming from
Oh,
here, it's
yes.
on the right.
Yes,
It's on the
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Going
you're
out
right.
of town, it's on the right.
Yep, yep, I
And
stand
Brumley's is
corrected.
right up the street.
It's right
not
next to
far,
it.
So,
yeah.
okay.
So just procedurally, because I feel like, do you have like a form that people fill out to ask you whether you need a permit or not? Or do we always have permit inquiries come to the commission?
No, they come to the window and talk to the agent. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just inquiring, pretty much. What do I have to do? They don't know, so they're
Yeah,
asking.
I'm just
"Help me,
surprised
help
that it
me,
comes, I
please."
mean, that would be something that would the commission vote to give the agent the ability to, if something like this is, unless it's an amendment or a request for a modification to a permit, which would be a commission vote, whether something needs a permit or not, I feel like is a administrative role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the agent can take care of that.
Yeah, so I feel like you should be able to determine this outside of a meeting discussion as to whether it's jurisdictional or not. And then if it was jurisdictional, then deciding whether or not it met the standards to need a permit, and then bring that to the commission to decide whether it's something that can be put in an as-built, or if it needs to modify the permit, or if it's already,
Yeah, so for this particular inquiry, it was first brought to the attention of the land use department when I was not here. And then the property owner wasn't able to make the last few meetings. But at that point, it had already been put on the agenda as an item. So, yeah, this is typically not how it's gone for other types of projects. I understand what you're saying, though.
Yeah, you should be able to determine whether it's
Yeah.
It's
jurisdictional
off
or not.
agenda, yeah.
But yeah, so there was, when the initial inquiry was made, there was no agent
To answer the
to
question.
answer the question.
Okay,
Okay.
fair enough.
The April report? Did you see anything on it?
So yeah, the April leachate report is available in the shared drive. If anyone wants to review it and make any comments or have any questions, they can direct that to us.
Leachate report has DPW leachate for the old,
Transfer station?
behind it, for the
Yeah.
old dump? Is that what we're talking about here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So nothing really new.
Okay, so I have to ask, because I deal with this thing 24/7, what's the Conservation Commission have to do with this? The leachate?
So they're just copied on the correspondence.
Just- okay.
There's
What's
no,
pumped out of what's pumped out of it, or you know what?
I think it's just for advising, or, yeah.
Just to let us know what's being
Yeah.
done with the leachate from
It's-
the old.
If you
Look-
copy
yeah, it
the
looks like it's
commission on
required
it,
by the
she's just
DP
putting it out there
consent
so you
order.
know it's there, you know? You
Got
got
it.
this letter in the mail, and here it is.
Great,
Put
okay.
it in the
was nice
recycle
to-
bin if we want.
All right,
Al Finney.
yeah, right. You're right, okay.
Where's that? Where's Al?
Yeah, right on the Blair Crane. So it's just advising us of that it's there and what goes on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. That brings us down to the fee schedule, proposed revisions, which, once we accept, change, revise, they have to go to town meeting.
So actually, I looked into that more, and the last time that the fee schedule was updated, it was done by vote and not through a town meeting.
Oh, really? Okay.
So my plan is to, for the July meeting, have a draft revised regulations. There were certain other things that I wanted to propose as far as changes to the regulations, the fee schedule, changing some of the language, updating definitions of things based on,
Current.
more current information. And so that draft will be ready for the July meeting, and then, you'll have until, ideally, would like to have comments in, so I could finalize that for August. And that way, there's time to get it to Tom, so that can be added to the E-code. And then there's, I also wanted to take a look at revising the bylaw, which would require a town meeting. And the articles of warrant, I believe, is how that's phrased, open August 1st. So I'll have draft revisions available for the August meeting, and then comments on that for a finalized revision would be due, I think the article closes the first week of September. And then the town meeting is usually the second or third week in October.
How does our fee schedule look? Is it competitive with other towns that you've seen?
The new one.
Or are there issues?
So we can get you
You can get the information?
I think it had gotten sent out when you weren't here.
Okay.
Elaine had put together a spreadsheet comparing it to other towns.
Oh, okay.
And then what the recommendations?
Some of the categories were a little bit lower than some of the surrounding towns. So we're going to be proposing increasing to match the surrounding towns, and potentially adding some other categories. Like currently the commission doesn't charge a fee for duplicate copies. When people lose copies of their signed order of conditions or COC that needs to be recorded at the registry of deeds, most towns charge a small fee for that. Obviously,
It takes staff time.
Yeah, it takes-
should-
it takes staff time.
They should pay you for filling out the, doing the
the
data
building
entry,
department.
Yeah, and-
photocopying and mailing it and all that kind of stuff.
right. And then, the commission, we have to bring it to the commission to sign, because, only original signed copies can be recorded. And there were some other categories that we're going to be potentially proposing adding, just to, yeah.
So you're going to advertise a public hearing for the July meeting for the revision to the regulations? You do have to advertise a legal notice ad.
I'd have to confirm with Rich for that. I don't know if it would be just for the finalized copy, or if we need to advertise for both the draft.
Well, the draft could be adopted that night, correct?
Yeah, potentially.
So, yeah, talk with Rich, and probably makes sense to put it as a notice.
Right.
You can always continue it if the discussion continues.
That's-
We can keep
yeah.
moving it on forever, if we debate
I mean, I
something.
usually never make mistakes, but,
Oh, yeah, but I mean, it's a catch-all.
It's possible.
It doesn't hurt us by
yeah.
saying, it's notice that we're gonna.
Yeah, anyone can come and hear the discussion, and, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if anyone does show up, but,
What I'd like to do
Okay, so
is.
yeah, we
for
can
the
do that.
Change it, definitely for any change in the regulations, I think, my understanding is that it needs to be advertised as a public hearing.
And, Caitlin, I think if you would
Brought extra protection.
send a memo to the Board of Select Persons, the Select Board, I guess is the proper name, notifying them, here's what our plans are. Send them the
Yes,
spreadsheet.
yep. I'm going to be emailing the town administrator about our plans to revise the regulations, and then also our plans to get on the articles of warrant for the town meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
Smart.
But give them a heads up to, here's what we're doing, so they're not blindsided.
Yep.
Okay, City Mills Pond, we have the invoice?
Yes, so in the shared drive, there's the invoice as well as a field report of the initial treatment of City Mills Pond, if anyone's interested in getting up to date on what's going on with that. The commission needs to vote to approve processing the voucher for payment.
How much is it?
It is like $7,200.
Okay. All right, why don't we put that on the agenda for next month? All right, or can we do, I haven't read any of the field notes,
Okay.
I'm, be honest, so, I mean, we can just assume everything is good.
Is there any time restraints for them to treat? Do they have to treat now, or is this coming in 6 months from now? You know what I mean? Like,
So they've already done the initial treatment. I'm not sure what the next step is.
I think it's
that.
is it August?
I'm not sure. I know they had a
Yeah.
step phase that they have to do it in with certain
Yeah.
times.
But this shouldn't hamper that, they'll just continue to do it and invoice us.
Because we already approved it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Of the work.
Yeah.
Just now, we got to find out where we're going to get the money. 'Cause I don't have it.
CPC.
I
No, I-
vote that we approved. No, okay.
I always have, I've been to 2 meetings, I have a lot of questions, I apologize, but I'm just really interested in how every town does something different, you know? And so the commission vote to approve the funding already, and then you have to vote to approve the payment of a voucher?
No, we shouldn't have to. Do we? Well, if it's the same as the quote was.
Yeah, unless the
Or
quote
less.
changed.
If it's 7,200, you should have done a purchase order, you know, voting to approve to spend the money, and then sometimes a
Town doesn't
commission
really
member
do
has to sign
things like
it.
that, do they?
Water department does. I got
Purchase
lots of
order?
purchase orders for everything I buy, but
Anything over $1,000, I think, requires a purchase order for state procurement law.
even if it's CPC funds?
Yeah.
Yes. If you're using any town funds,
Yep.
you have to do, you have the state procurement laws. So it should have required a purchase order. So I'm just curious
Barbara has
if you
to pay
voted
for
to, you know, approve the
Yes.
funding from a specific account. And then usually, sometimes vouchers are signed by a commission member.
Yeah. So Jim can do it as the clerk. And then, I guess.
So my
post-
my understanding was that Jim needed commission approval to process the voucher.
Okay. All right, I mean, it's a quick vote, and we can do it, but then we can look at our practices.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
on
we issue
Reagan's
things.
behalf, is there a PO been issued for? Because, I mean,
I think part of the issue is they don't know exactly how much chemical they're gonna have to put down or how long it's gonna take,
So there's
because most of the stuff is growing 20 to 25% a year. So last year, they put in a quote to come out this year. So when they come out this year, the area that they're treating could essentially be 20 or 25% more
Or less.
than last year. So when they do the actual application, they're trying to estimate the growth of, you know, depending on which plant's actually in the water, and how thick they are. So they give us an estimate the year before of what they're gonna do. This is why we were so adamant of going to CPC to come up with a plan for all our waterways where we would take care of the big issues now, and then it's just maintenance. And maintenance is a lot easier to budget for, except for, July and August, when we're looking at some maybe algae blooms that they test for. So those type of things were hard to exactly say it's going to be this much money, because they're doing it based on last year's assessment. So when they came out,
Well, so I'm gonna quote you to build your house. I quote you $1 million. If I buy less lumber, I'm only gonna charge you $800,000 for the house. But
No,
I've
you're
already
not.
approved $1 million. I know, right? Well, you know, you've already approved $1 million. So if we have a PO for $8,000, but they're only charging us $7,200, then it should be already approved, that spending. And then the other $800 goes back into whatever a fund that
Yeah.
we're spending the money out of.
Yeah, because this is what I had asked him to do, was to take all our waterways that are going to be treated and come up with a price of what it's going to cost us.
For the whole town?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
town.
because what
town
happens
ponds.
is, you're getting these $8,000 bills to treat City Pond, where initially, it may be only $1,000 a year to treat all the ponds, each pond. Because and then what happened with one area, it had grown so much that it actually had built, the organic matter built up, and we lost, what, 20% of one
Yeah,
pond?
City Mills Pond.
City Mills
Yeah.
Pond.
So
Lost 2.5
we lost about
acres.
20% because of foliage death and growth had just built up the organic matter, and, they're having the same problem at Mirror Lake. There's been so much death and regeneration of organic matter that there's parts of the pond that you can walk across. So,
It's filling.
right, so if you take care of the vegetation now, we don't end up with the depth of the pond and the water level decreasing and warming up, which adds to the algae and all the other issues that go along with it. So we're started, this is the first year we're actually starting planning and
program.
taking care of our waterways in town.
I think it's great. I'm excited. As a resident of Canton, I mean,
Mirror-
resident of Norfolk, I'm very excited about
Mirror
this.
Lake it's interesting because Rentham owns half of it, and so do we. It goes out on our end, correct?
What do you
We
mean
were the
goes out?
It goes out. that's the
Discharges,
thing.
yes.
The discharges
Yes.
on our end. Rentham was treating their side. We weren't.
Oh.
So now we are.
Yeah.
And so the Friends of Mirror Lake are
So
very
is this-
happy.
So
This is just one bill out of a bigger
so
Yes.
plan? Okay, so
So
that's
in
maybe where I'm confused.
Rentham's side was just the residents coming up with, like you said, the Friends of Mirror Lake and getting their monies together to treat the side, but we're not doing anything on our side, and our side's growing into their side, and they keep having to
And they
treat
came
it.
to us and said, we'd like permission and this and that, and then it was like, no, the town should be
We
paying
need to
for
start
it.
taking care of
And
our
so-
side.
Yeah, and so then we started this whole
I think the
town
price was
pond.
also with the water chestnuts. They treat
Yeah.
for them first, but now, this year, they might just hand harvest them. So it's a lot less money.
Okay.
Where the first initial treatment, they gotta go in with what's that
Well,
machine?
yeah, this is where we got into debate with the two different companies.
Yes.
One was harvesting. If you harvest it and pull it up, you have the chance of disturbing what's there, because the pods last 8 to 10 years.
And then, but also the seeds would drop.
So if you
We didn't
treat
want
it,
that.
you kill it, and then that's it.
We have to
So,
treat
and then
it.
you don't disturb the ground, which
Yeah,
you're not
chemically.
disturbing. So the company that we're using is using approved chemicals to kill the foliage. It drops down and that's it. And then they can hand dip certain foliage that comes up throughout the year, but they've had a better success, especially
With
when it's
treatment.
growing at 20%. It doesn't
Yeah.
take long to take over an entire pond, and then it shades the pond, and it's killing insect life, it's killing fish, and it just is the end of the pond once it starts filling in with foliage.
Yeah.
So, the only thing that we were talking about later is that we may have to hire is, once this is all done, either we have them monitor the ponds 3 or 4 times a year with water samples, or we hire someone to do it. Some towns have done it on their own, hired someone to do the water samples, as opposed to paying them 3 or 4 times a year. So,
To be decided.
but we were the really bad neighbors, and it really came to fruition when they're sitting in front of us, using their own personal money to fix a pond, and here's Norfolk. We're just like, hey, have
you.
our plans keep floating into your...
And the discharge of the pond and the boat ramp is in Norfolk. And they're treating the pond on their end, and we're not doing nothing. It's
Yeah.
like, well, time to do
So,
something.
and it's,
Well, it's exciting.
It is.
yeah, so it's,
We're being proactive for once.
Yeah.
And that's the mentality I think we've grabbed because of all the water chestnut problems, is let's take care of the town ponds as a program, not react to a need. Let's just do it and have the treatments down. And yeah, the company that we hired is doing, that's their job.
because part of it too is, if I'm on Mirror Lake with my boat and I'm going in and out of Norfolk, the water chestnuts, I'm taking and spreading them to the Rentham side, and then I'm taking them to another pond in Norfolk and transfer them there too. So we need to be
The
more
state's inspecting
proactive.
that.
Yeah.
You go to a pond now, you're liable to see a warden
Yeah.
watching, and if that boat's dirty
Yeah.
underneath, see you later. They won't even let you launch it.
Those washing stations, they're starting to
Yeah.
install at different
So-
places.
We were really bad neighbors, so we've,
Corrected that.
we're trying to
We're
be.
bad neighbors.
Well, it's,
Past
instead of waiting till it's several thousands of dollars, because some of the removal was, I think, it was like 15 to 20,000 to bring a harvester out.
Yeah.
And then you're bringing all that out, and then now you've got all this material.
Highland Lake.
It ends up down at DPW, and you got to be careful what you do with it, because it can't go into a wetland area, because then you've now taken things and you've just
Yeah.
They
spread
last
that.
forever. It's not
Yeah.
like these things just die out. They sit there, and the chestnuts themselves last, I don't know how many years they
It's
sit.
like, they said 7 or 8, they could regenerate. So that's why they're using the chemical to,
They're sharp little things, too.
Yeah, yes.
That's how they move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done
Okay.
some
So
removal
we're-
of them. You
we'd
have to wear
approve that, or-
gloves, because if
Well-
you pick one up, it'll go
What do
through
we do
your...
now?
Yeah.
That's my question, but you might as well vote on it, because she's
Yep.
saying that it does, but I'm curious.
I mean, if I wasn't involved with the order of conditions for this, if the commission's not comfortable approving this, I can find out more information from Jim, in respect to, what the commission's responsible for.
yeah, this was a confusing one because,
Well, Jim who? This Jim or another Jim?
Another Jim.
From Water and Wetlands?
I believe from the town.
It has to be somebody from, what's the name of the finance director?
Todd.
It's Todd.
Wow.
It could be
Who's
Todd.
Jim?
Yeah. And he's on vacation, I guess, this week.
Yes.
Okay. For the next meeting.
I was
this one originally came out
I
of
was
the
forwarded this
Historical Commission.
information from someone from town, and someone from the Waters and Wetlands was copied on the email.
My concern was we're not holding anything up by not
No,
approving it. If
no.
we're not holding anything up, then we can just wait for you to find out exactly what, and if there's a PO required or whatever, we'll go for it next month. But if we're holding something up, I'd prefer to just say, let's pay it.
Do it, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's
we're
not being held
paying them
up.
for the work.
Yeah, we're really not,
We hold it up
so,
if it requires a vote.
yeah. Yeah, wait till Todd comes back. How much money do we have in our account, Elaine?
What?
$800?
What are we talking about?
Which account?
I know there wasn't much.
Oh, the Woodlands account, $8,000, was it?
Oh, the timber.
Timber one.
Timber fund, yes.
Okay.
8,000.
I propose, under unanticipated business, is that we buy benches for our trails. And I went to Got Bait today, and they're $200 each, and it'll be a plank of wood finished, and 2 logs underneath it for $200. And I think at least to beginning, like Campbell Forest could at least use 3 of them, 1 in the beginning and 2 out in the outskirts. We'll have to get some strong guys
So let me ask this question to you,
to
sir.
carry them out.
Are these gonna go next to the signs that we have not put up yet? Oh, I'm sorry, did I say that? Go ahead,
Okay,
I'm
we
sorry.
just found the CPC rep. We had to talk about that this morning.
We did.
Not you.
Oh, okay.
Why, did you make Caitlin hang up signs now?
Yeah. But anyways,
Oh, you're
back
the
to my bench,
postal
back,
there.
excuse me, back to the topic.
I'm all for it.
For
Anybody else?
benches, and then we could buy some for Lynn Farms. Put one out by the beginning of it, and, I don't know, maybe somewhere inside. They're heavy, so Al and Adam will have to carry them. They're about 200 pounds each.
Well, we got kids walking all over Lynn Farm for hours at a time.
Yeah. How about those Boy Scouts? They're pretty hefty. little guys.
right.
We could ask REI to help us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what I propose is that we go ahead and buy 4 of them with this year's money and
So
get them
that's
placed.
$800 worth of benches.
Yeah.
Whose names can go on?
It's good that
The
you're
new
keeping it under
CPC guy.
1,000. Keep it under 1,000.
Is it,
Yeah.
That's,
we could easily talk to the Boy Scouts and have them place them out. It doesn't have to be a project, it could be something they do as
Yeah,
a...
I don't know.
I have
Yeah.
ways to get
I
it
mean,
there. The
there's-
problem is it's not registered.
How long have we been hearing this?
I know.
Do you have an ATV?
Can you, what does a weight limit on your drone?
Do you need a
I was
motion?
thinking-
Do you need a motion for this, or would you like?
Yes, we need a motion to buy them, and then we can discuss how we're gonna get them out there. Does DPW have an ATV?
No.
With a wagon?
No.
So, I mean, if there's,
Huh?
I have a little tractor.
Okay, that'll work.
I have
Drive
a
it over
Kubota.
with the trailer.
Yeah,
Doesn't the fire
I don't know if I
department,
can put it on the street, though, but,
Yeah.
the fire department has an ATV, don't they?
yes, they do. Police,
Do they have a trailer for it?
yes, I believe
The
so.
military
We
one?
use Mitch too,
Huh?
the dog.
We can get them, we'll get them out.
Officer Mitch.
Yeah.
Do you guys want that?
You
Can he
attach
come?
it to, Mitch the puppy?
No, I just want to bring him to
I'm
supervise.
gonna report you to animal control.
Mitch can't puppy
Relax, I just
anymore.
want Mitch to come along.
Mitch is very large now.
Anti-dog.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
wow.
Do you have a
he can be involved with,
No, I
do a
just- I
ribbon
just
cutting
want-
ceremony,
Yes.
and Mitch can,
Mitch
He can bite
he
it.
can head
Mitch
up
can
the
approve them,
ribbon
yeah.
cutting ceremony.
Although if it's in Campbell Forest, that's my Ziggy's forest. He controls it.
That's
Anybody that goes on, he barks at.
That is the
It's
one,
it's his
that's
trail.
that is the one right next to the trail starts at
Yeah.
your house.
Yeah.
No wonder we need benches for that. I make a motion that we purchase 4 benches to the tune of roughly $800 for the Campbell Forest area
And other
and other trails.
conservation property.
Jim Olson, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes. Yeah, I mean, I would put 1 at Lynn Farm, so, but 3 in Campbell Forest would work, I think. And we'll try them out.
Yep. Let's sign.
It's better than cutting down trees and making them ourselves.
Yes.
I mean, there are some big trees, but they're living, so you don't want to
Yeah,
cut
we
them
wanna
down.
Cut them down.
It was a suggestion. And Lions will be going into Campbell Forest in probably end of June or so, and doing some nice maintenance for us. And we'll bring in a couple truckloads of wood chips to spread. You have a bucket on your tractor?
I know a
How
gentleman.
wide? 4 feet? Yeah, it's tiny.
Yeah, it works.
So this allocation of timber fund budget,
Yeah.
it's by the end of the fiscal year, so by June 30th?
Yeah,
So by June 30th, we have to allocate $8,000?
which we don't. I mean, this has been going through, and we never spend the money. So this is
It
the
just
first
carries
time
over.
we're,
It carries over to the,
and it,
Oh, okay.
and it,
It's not use or lose.
it's in the budget.
right, it carries, it
It
stays in
should
the
carry
Kind of
over.
pays, yeah. But I think
Yeah.
next year it's only
It's
7,000.
a revolving fund,
No,
not an operations fund.
it's an operations, it's not a revolving, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think
If it carries from year to year, I think
It
it's
doesn't, it doesn't.
revolving.
It goes under the town budget.
Oh, it reverts back to the town
Yeah.
budget if we don't
Yeah.
spend
reverts
it.
Yeah.
back to the general fund then.
Yeah, so it's not a revolving fund, there's only recreation and something else has a revolving fund. I think
So
more in the
then- so
build
they-
land use department.
Do they, come the new fiscal year, award us with another?
Yeah, we got another 7,000,
Okay,
so.
all right. So it goes back to the general fund and they give us what they want to give us the following.
Again, it could be 0.
0, could be 6, could be anything.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Does the commission have a conservation land fund?
I don't believe so. Where people can donate to?
Yeah.
No, we don't have a Friends of Conservation.
So you can actually have a revolving fund called a conservation land fund for the commission. So I was just curious.
It's seeded with some town money.
Yeah, or people, you can like
Or fine money.
You can
Yeah.
have people
Yeah.
make donations into it.
Yeah,
And that's how so the fund, you would have to vote on it, but it's for the original purpose of the commission to purchase and manage conservation land.
Yeah.
Or, as like the larger cities do, they do the recreation department, but we could say, 0.025% of the value of the home you built goes to recreation, goes to a conservation fund.
Well,
in town, for any new homes.
I'll get it from the CPC, what percentage is.
That's a
From the real estate to the funds and how it's divided.
Because like the city of Boston, they demand that there's a percentage that goes to recreation. And any new building that they do.
Yeah. All right. Any other unanticipated business?
Yeah, there was just one item that I wanted to discuss involving the waste, the water treatment plant for MCI at 2 Clark Street. So I had gone out there April 12th to look at an area along their fence line that Bittersweet has started to overgrow the fence and compromise the fence in some areas. Initially, they were considering clearing beyond the fence. However, I told them that was in, floodplain, riverfront area, the buffer zone to wetlands. So they decided to scale back what they would be removing, and they reached out at the beginning of this week. If you go in the shared drive under 2 Clark Street, there should be a figure. So the clearing would take place, they would just remove the vines that are growing on the inside of the fence in the existing treatment facility area. They had recently done upgrades to the facility. You can look here. So there's the 2 what's they called? Clarifier tanks. They had made some upgrades to those under an order of conditions that was completed recently. And after they had done the work there, that's when they noticed the vines growing on the fence.
That's where they did the soil injection?
No, that was on, so this is the
soil injection was the leaked oil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that was at a different facility.
Yeah.
But
That was at the
both
prison
DOC,
itself.
yeah, both DOC property, but a different area. So they, based on what I saw out on the site and the fact that they're only going to be removing vines from the fence from inside the facility, plant debris is disposed of properly.
So those 2 circular areas by the red, is that the clarifiers? Those there?
Yes, those are the 2 clarifier
And
tanks.
The stuff is getting to the clarifiers?
It will eventually, yeah.
I can see
So the
why they
fence
need
is
to clear it then.
Yeah, the fence is pretty
Oh.
close to those tanks.
Yeah. Probably had them put that there for the bounds to the wetlands, so that we could allow them inside the
What
fence to
size is
clear
the
it back.
fence?
Probably
right?
8
Tall?
foot.
It's,
To keep the prisoners in.
no,
No.
this is just the treatment plant.
Actually, it's 8 feet.
I don't think it's that tall. It's probably like 6 feet
Yeah.
on my height.
Yeah, that's all it's doing, protecting the treatment plant.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
But that vegetation is now encroaching on the clarifiers.
Yeah.
They can't have that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not good.
And so like I said, they were initially, thinking about removing some of the vines on the other side of the fence. But, they wanted to avoid filing. So I think their plan, especially since, the Bittersweet's pretty established. So even if they were to go remove it, it would just come back because the seeds are,
Could you put
already in the
Chemical
soil.
treatment?
You could do chemical treatment, but it's so close to the river there, it would just be they just don't want to get into that. Their main concern is that, the fence isn't impacted and that the
Yeah.
vines
Okay.
don't.
No, I was just
The
thinking,
clarifiers have skimmers that
Yeah.
run across the
Yeah.
top to skim
Yeah.
the floatable stuff into a trough, and if those skimmers get bound up with,
oh,
it wouldn't be pretty, so.
burn motors out.
But, yeah.
Okay.
So I would assume they're probably looking at like hedge trimmers or something, they're just gonna trim back and keep the fence
Clean.
cleaned off
Yeah.
on the inside.
Yep.
Yeah, that seems like routine
Which-
maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't see any reason for a permit for that.
Yeah, they don't need to file for that.
or
Okay.
anything.
So I will, I'll respond back to them and let them know that they're okay to go ahead and do that work. They just have to make sure they're disposing of the debris properly.
Yeah, no, throw it back over the fence.
Put it in a dumpster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
make sure they're
Bag
not
it,
going on
put
the
it
other
in
side of the
dumpster,
fence,
yeah.
that's all.
Yeah, somebody else's property.
Yes.
Okay, with that, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Oh, wait, there's 82 North Street. We got more.
Oh,
Where?
yeah.
Are we
Based
gonna-
on our conversation with the lawyer earlier, I think we might want to table that discussion and save that for an executive session.
Okay.
Oh, I see what, is that Rummels where property, 82 North? Is that,
I believe.
It's,
it's by you anyway, down by your area.
is it the builder?
Okay,
Okay.
got it. Got it.
Okay, when do you want to go to an executive session?
We could do that, we could do it tomorrow or next
No.
week.
Next meeting before?
How long of a conversation do you think we'll have on that?
I mean, I think it'd be pretty short.
Do we want to just do it tonight?
What's up?
Have an executive session on North Street?
Don't we, I think we have to,
Advertise that?
No, so an executive session would be, it wouldn't
I think
be,
it still has to be on an agenda that you're going into
I
executive session.
thought that was the case when we did them before, is,
Yeah, you have to motion to exit, and then you have to motion to
To
enter, and then you
back,
got a
yeah.
motion to go back into the regular meeting, and
I
then,
mean, that's what we've done before.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
we could
then-
take care of it in July.
okay,
Be on the
Yeah.
next-
Okay. Executive session.
okay.
for going in and out of the executive session.
And I
We're
can-
getting pretty good
Can't
at
do
that.
I can do more research on the
I was really
topic.
good at that, 'cause I think you were
Been a
all in my
while.
head like, that's when the attorney was my favorite friend.
Yes.
I'm surprised he didn't stab me after some of those meetings.
Your car didn't blow up.
Oh, God.
Okay.
I will, make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Maggie Crow, second.
You sure? You don't want to stay? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Did you want to talk?